Hello everyone and welcome back once again. This is your EVS teacher here, and this time I'm here with the third part of the chapter number 3 of grade 5th, that is from tasting to digesting. Students, as you all know, we already discussed the two parts of this chapter. Now this is the last and the final part of your chapter number 3. So let's continue the chapter. Students, your third part of this chapter number 3 starts with a short poem, and the poem name is Martin's Window. So let's read it. Here's an old story. It seems so funny. There was a window in Martin's tummy. Actually, by mistake, Martin was shot right in the stomach. It bled a lot. The wound slowly healed and was covered by skin, but the hole was still there. You could peep right in. Oh, what a chance for doctors to study what happens to the food inside the body. The story seems odd, but it is really true. The secret of Martin's stomach help us all, me and you. Students, as we read in this poem that it is about a soldier called Martin, and in 1822 he was 18 years old and was very healthy, but once he was accidentally shot, and due to which he was seriously hurt, and at that time Dr. Beaumont was called to treat Martin, and Dr. Beaumont cleaned the wound and put the dressing. And after 1.5 years, the doctor found that Martin's wound had healed except for one thing, and he had a big hole in his stomach. And students, the hole was covered with a loose flap of skin like the washer in a football. And students, with this, Dr. Beaumont found a treasure, and he did many experiments to find out that how food is digested in the stomach, what all things are present inside our stomach, and all about the digestion. Students, at that time, scientists didn't know how food was digested. How does the liquid, means the digestive juices in the stomach, helps to digest the food that we eat, and does it only help in making the food wet and soft, or does it also help in digestion? So at that time scientists didn't know the answer of all these questions. So students, to find out the answer of all these questions, Dr. Beaumont took some liquid, means digestive juices, out of the stomach, and he wanted to see that what would happen if the food item kept in a glass filled with it, and he wanted to know that would it get digested on its own or not. So for this he did an experiment, and with the help of a tube he took out some digestive juice from the stomach. And students, around 8:30 a.m. he put 20 tiny pieces of boiled fish in 10 ml of the juice. Then he kept the glass at the same temperature as that of our stomach, means about 30 degrees Celsius. That is our stomach's temperature on which our food digested. Then students, at 2 p.m. Dr. Beaumont found that the pieces of fish had dissolved, means completely digested. Students, then Dr. Beaumont tried this experiment with different food items, and then he gave Martin the same food at the same time, and then he compared how long it took for food to digest in the glass and in the Martin's stomach, and then he recorded his observation in a table. Now let's find out what he observed. Now student, as you can see here, this is the observation table of Dr. Beaumont, and here is the observation of his experiment on different food items. Now let's see. Students, as you can see here, the first food items that Dr. Beaumont took is unboiled milk, and students, this unboiled milk took about 2 hours and 15 minutes to digest in Martin's stomach, whereas this unboiled milk took 4 hours 45 minutes to digest in the glass with digestive juices. And in the same way, the boiled milk took 2 hours to digest in the Martin's stomach, whereas 4 hours and 15 minutes in the glass with digestive juices. And in the same way, then he took full boiled egg, then half boiled egg, then beaten raw egg, then raw egg. And he noticed that in the stomach of Martin, it took less time to digest as compared to in the glass with digestive juices. Now student, here is the question that, so what does our stomach do? And student, that's how Dr. Beaumont did many experiments and find out many secrets about the digestion. And students, Dr. Beaumont find out that the food digests faster in the stomach than the outside. Students, basically when we eat food, our stomach churns the food to digest it. And Dr. Beaumont also saw that the food didn't digest properly when Martin was sad, means when he was injured. And he also found that the juice in our stomach is somewhat acidic in nature. And students, have you ever heard of anyone talking about the acidity? And students, this happens especially when anyone hasn't eaten well or the food is not digested properly. Then we have acidity in our stomach when we not eaten well or food is not digested properly. And students, after this, Dr. Beaumont experiment became famous across the world. And after this, many scientists did many such experiments on digestion. And students, the other scientists didn't shoot people in the stomach, and nor did they wait for a patient with a hole in the stomach. In fact, they uses other scientific methods to look out inside the bodies to find out about the digestion process. Now students, here is a question for all of you that, did you like the story of Martin, or should we say the story of our stomach? If yes, if you like this story, then you have to write on here yes. Now let's move on towards the next slide. Now students, here is a case study of two children named Rashmi and Kailash. Good food, good health. Students, Dr. Aparna has two patients, Rashmi and Kailash. And Dr. Aparna talked to them, find out more about them. And now let's read what Dr. Aparna found about them. So students, when Dr. Aparna talked to both of them, then she found out. Now students, let's see here what she talked to them, Rashmi. So students, when Dr. Aparna talked to Rashmi about her age, then Rashmi told that she was 5 years, but she looks about 3 years old, and she has very thin arms and legs and a pot belly, means stomach just like a balloon, means her stomach is swell up, and she often falls sick. And she also said that she always feels tired and cannot go to school regularly, and she doesn't have the strength even to play. After hearing all this, Dr. Aparna asked about her food, that what she took in their diet. So Rashmi told that she is lucky if she can get a little rice or one roti to eat in the whole day. Means Rashmi is so poor that she can't even afford little rice or one roti to eat in the whole day. Now let's see what Kailash said about himself. When Dr. Aparna asked about Kailash's age, then Kailash said that he is 7 years old. And students, he looks older than his age, and his body is fat and flabby, and he has a pain in his legs, and he's not very active. He goes to school by bus and spends many hours watching TV. Now students, again after hearing all this, Dr. Aparna asked about his diet. Then Kailash said that he doesn't like to eat home cooked food, means he basically like junk food, and he don't like homemade food like dal, rice, vegetables and roti, and he only likes to eat chips, burger, pizza and soft drinks from the market. Now after this, Dr. Aparna measured the height and weight of both the children. Then she told them that there is only one treatment for both of your problems, and that is the proper food. Students, proper food, we can also call it a balanced diet. Balanced diet means a diet having all the essential nutrient in proper amount. So she, means Dr. Aparna, suggests them, means Rashmi and Kailash, to have a balanced diet in order to get rid of their problems. Now students, as you can see here are some questions to discuss. Now let's discuss them one by one. The first question is, why do you think Rashmi could eat only one roti in the whole day? Students, as we discussed in the earlier section that Rashmi is too poor to afford proper meal. That's why she could eat only one roti in the whole day. Next question is, do you think Kailash would like games and sports? No. Students, obviously no. As we discussed that his body is fat and flabby, that shows that he hardly do any kind of physical activities. And according to this, we can say that Kailash wouldn't like games and sports. Now let's move on towards the next slide. Now students, the next question is, what do you understand by proper food? Students, proper food is also called as balanced diet. Now students, is a question that what is balanced diet or what do you understand by proper food? So students, a proper food or a balanced diet is a diet consisting of a variety of different types of food and providing adequate amounts of the nutrient that is basically necessary for the overall development of our body, and that kind of food we can call as proper food or a balanced diet. The next question is, why do you think that the food of Rashmi and Kailash wasn't proper? Students, as we talk that Rashmi is not getting adequate amount of food, and that's why her hand and legs was so thin and her stomach was like a balloon, whereas Kailash is taking too much food than what his body needs, and moreover he often is eating chips, burger, pizza and soft drinks instead of eating homemade food, and these food means junk foods are harmful for our body. That's why we can say that the food of Rashmi and Kailash wasn't proper. Now students, here is an activity that you have to do in your home with the help of your grandparents or the elderly peoples in your family. Now listen here what you have to do in this activity. Students, you have to talk with your grandparents or elderly people and try to find out that what they eat and what work they did when they were of your age. Now students, you have to think about yourself, your daily activities and daily diet after talk with your grandparents or elderly people, that your daily activities or your daily diet is same as that of your grandparents or elderly people when they were at your age. If yes, then you have to write down yes. If no, then you have to write down no. And how your daily activity and your daily diet is different from your grandparents, you also have to write down this. The next part, are these similar or different from what your grandparents did and ate? Now here in this question you have to write down that your daily activities or your daily diet is similar or different from what your grandparents did and ate. If similar, then how? You have to write down here. Now let's move on towards the next slide. Now student, as you can see here the heading, proper food, every child's right, means it is a right of every child of India that he or she get the proper food or a balanced diet. And students, as we learn and discuss about two children in our case study, and that is Kailash, who doesn't like homemade food, whereas Rashmi, who doesn't even get one proper meal a day. And students, about half the children in our country are like Rashmi, and these children don't get enough food what they need to grow and develop properly. And that's why these children are weak and often falls sick. But student, it is the right of every child to get a proper food. So students, in order to overcome this malnutrition, our government took many steps to provide proper food all those children like Rashmi. And one such step of government is midday meal scheme. Students, the midday meal scheme is a school meal program of the government of India that is basically designed to better the nutritional standing of school age children nationwide. So students, like this step, government time to time put several steps in order to make each and every children healthy and to provide them proper food. Now students, here is another case study. Now let's read it. Students, Gomti is 30 years old. Now who is Gomti? As you can see here in this figure, a lady holding a baby, and that lady is Gomti. And Gomti works in the fields of a rich farmer, and for all her hard work, she gets paid very little. So little that she cannot even buy enough rice to feed her family. Some months she doesn't get any work at all. Then she has to eat leaves and roots from the jungle. Gomti's children are weak with hunger and always sick. Few years ago, her husband died of hunger. Now students, as we read that Gomti is 30 years old lady and she works in the field of a rich farmer. And students, for all her hard work, she gets very little. And whatever she gets, it's so little that she cannot even buy enough rice to feed her family. And students, even some months of the year, she doesn't get any work at all. And during these months, she has to eat leaves and roots from the jungle. And due to this, Gomti's children are weak with hunger and always fall sick due to malnutrition. And students, the most devastating point is that few years ago, her husband died of hunger because they didn't get proper food. And students, you will amazed to know that most rice grows in Kalhinde district. Now students, this Kalhinde district is in Odisha. It means that Gomti belongs to district Odisha. And most of the rice grown in this Kalhinde district from where she belongs. And students, the production of rice is so high that even the rice sent to the other states from here. And many times the rice that keeps lying in the godowns get spoiled, means to say damaged by insects or by some other means. And students, irony of this district is that in the same Kalhindi, there are many poor people like Gomti. Now students, as we discussed that Kalhinde district in Orissa has the maximum production of rice, and that production is so high that even the rice is sent to other states from here. Many times the rice that keeps lying in the godowns get spoiled. But students, in spite of this, there are many people in the Kalhindi districts like Gomti who suffer from hunger. Now students, the question is, why do people die of hunger in such a place? Now you have to think about it and write down the answer in your own words. Now students, here are some questions to discuss. Now question number 1, do you know any child who doesn't get enough to eat in the whole day? What are the reasons for this? Now students, here you have to answer that. Do you know any child like Rashmi who doesn't get enough food to eat in the whole day? If yes, then you have to write down the reason here also. So let's discuss the answer. Students, if you know any child like this, then you have to write down, yes, I know of some children who do not get enough to eat in the whole day, and you have to write down the reason. They live in the nearby slum. They are too poor to afford a proper meal in a day. The next question is, have you ever seen a godown where a lot of grain has been stored? Well, now students, you have to answer here that you ever seen a godown? Students, basically godown is a place where lots of grain are usually stored. As you can see here in this figure, there are so many sack of grains. If you ever seen, then you have to write down yes. If you never seen, then you have to write down no. Now let's move on towards the next slide. Now students, here is the overall conclusion of this chapter, that what we have learned and discussed in this chapter. So students, on the basis of our discussion, here are two questions that you have to answer. Question number 1, why can you not taste food properly when you have a cold? Students, have you ever imagined that whenever we suffer from a cold, we can't taste food properly? Can you answer why? Students, as we already learned and discussed, that the sense of smell helps in getting the complete taste of our food. But in the case of common cold, our nose is blocked, and due to this, the sense of smell also blocked, and that is why we are not unable to taste food properly in case of cold. The next question is, if we were to say that digestion begins in the mouth, how would you explain this? Students, as we already learned in this second part of this chapter, that the digestion begins in our mouth. Now here you have to explain how. Students, the salivary gland that are present in our mouth contain different kind of digestive enzymes, and students, these enzymes from our saliva helps in breaking complex of the sugars or breaking down of the complex food molecules into simple sugars, and thus it can be said that digestion begins in our mouth. And students, due to this saliva, when we chew our food continuously about 30 to 32 times, then its taste will convert into somewhat sweet, and that's how we can say that digestion begins in the mouth. Now students, the third part of your chapter number 3 is finished here, and with this third part, your chapter number 3 is complete here. Now I will be come back soon with another chapter. Till then, stay home, stay safe.